Hey everyone, this is Austin Doctor, and welcome back to another review for The Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime, and this is episode 6, and, it took a little longer than I thought it would come out, but what an episode. The last part of this entire episode kind of just made you like, whoa, feels, man. Where do these feels come from? But anyways, so, we see the three adventures from the second episode again, and it was quite, interesting to see them again, and they're reporting back to the guild master, which is Fuse. And I'm sorry, I couldn't stop thinking of Rainbow Six, where's the hostage kind of thing. There is no hostage when there's Fuse. There's only enemies. But besides that meme, Cavill actually confirmed, which is one of the people part of the trio, and that Voldar is gone. He's disappeared, and Fuse gives the group 3 days to relax, and they're off to search the forest next to where the cave was. And oof, I feel for him, because you see Eren kind of just start complaining, and then we see Shizu show up, and they kind of calm down a bit, and she actually asked them if she could come with them. And of course, we all know why she's there. She is the hero summon, as we know, and well, if you watch the episode, and you kind of can tell from the mask, and that's why I know there was a certain person trying to spoil stuff, and it was quite interesting to hear them say it wasn't a spoiler. I'm like, waiting for everyone else to find out on themselves. That's with this series, please don't spoil stuff, because you may not see it as a spoiler, but others will. So off to the review again. But it's quite obvious who she is and what she needs, and we find out Cavill is actually the leader of the party, which was kind of, obvious, and we see Rimuru show Ringa the Black Lightning attack, and this comes into play later on, because I think that attack is really cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's such well animated too. I was just like, oh, damn, I haven't seen something like this in a while, But Kanjin's actually teaching the goblins how to forge swords, while, his brothers are teaching how to make armor, and we see Dord kind of making jewelry for the girls, and, the silent one, Murd, is the actual expert architect, and I couldn't stop laughing, because I'm like, of course the guy that's you, it's the master architect. Oh, that's amazing. I got a kick out of it, and I love that guy, because every time he's trying to speak, you hear Rimuru, just speak, man. I'm like, yeah, he understands us, but we actually have a flashback to, when Rimuru and the other goblins were coming back to the village, and we hear about how these other goblins were seeking protection from Rimuru, and there's a total of 500 goblins now. And of course, this is all due to the fact that Voldar is actually gone, and it's kind of making everything unbound, so the orcs and everything else are kind of seeking out the weaker ones and killing them off so they can have their own place, kind of taking over stuff. Of course, we have good old Rimuru name all 500 of them, and he was out for 3 days. And it's quite interesting to see how Rimuru is he's the good guy, Ainz, if you want to really get technical, because Ainz is the bad guy in his anime, if you haven't picked up. I know people are still shocked about it, like, it's not really a surprise, but Rimuru this is the parody of Overlord, as I kind of see it, and it's kind of sad. It does better. It actually is entertaining. And I know people are very upset with that when I just said that, but so we go back to Gobita, and we see, that he actually summons a Tempest Wolf. And he was only able to summon a Tempest Wolf because Rimuru forgot about him. How do you dare leave our Lord and Savior Gobita behind? He is powerful. And of course he did a good old Goku trying to power up, and he summoned that. I thought that was a really cool little Easter egg if anyone actually picked it up. But we see Rugard is now the Goblin King. And he, of course, evolved again. And I was just like, this man, he's going to just one-punch everyone now at this point. But we see Kaba, Shizu, Inden, and Guido are kind of fleeing from a monster. And we heard earlier about how there's humans nearby the village, reported from the security team to Rimuru, and we see Shizu kind of get annoyed of them just being scared and attack the ants. And she attacks it with her sword, which was a fire sword. And, she is purely a strong person to be trifling with, and it's just, at the end, it just makes it all the more painful. But we see Rimuru actually ends up saving Shizu because she kind of breaks down, and it starts to make more sense towards the end of the episode why she goes down. But of course, he uses his Black Lightning attack again. He is accurate for that. I'm just like, how accurate can you be with that? But we see Rimuru actually takes them in, and he starts to feed them since they've been, going around. He's kind of being a good host. And Rimuru actually recalls seeing the trio for somewhere, and of course, his good old memory serves to see that he saw them in the cave. They were going through the cave, and the trio is actually shocked about Rimuru being the Goblin's masters because, he's a slime. He isn't supposed to be much. And it's quite interesting to see everyone's reaction to see that a lowly slime, usually in video games or RPGs, they're not really that strong like goblins. And to be the master of goblins, he's someone not to be messed with, basically. And we see that Rimuru makes his introduction, and it obviously is a reference to a video game. I actually haven't played it, but it actually makes Shizu laugh with, his introduction. I'm just like, oh, here we go. That's the destined one. But Rimuru actually invites them all to stay the night after they eat to, relax since they have been going through a lot. And he is such a good person. To have strangers just be there, he's pretty cool. And we see Rimuru walk up to Shizu, and he was going to ask her if she's from Japan, but he gets interrupted, and she asked him if he's from Japan too. And of course, he says yes. And we see that from episode 1. This is where someone was trying to spoil everything. So let me explain this by every detail. From episode 1, we heard about someone being summoned by Voldar, and basically Shizu's the summoned one. She's the hero summon that was done by the 30 mages. And we kind of basically hear that Shizu's kind of just a weapon to her summoner. She can't defy her summoner. She is her servant to her master kind of thing. And it sucks. And without trying to spoil anything, it gets more interesting to say the least. But Shizu, we actually find out, is from the World War II era. She recalls from, the cities being firebombed, if you don't remember, or if you've never taken a history class. We did that in World War II. The U.S. actually did that in World War II on Tokyo, if I'm not mistaken. And we kind of see where she's coming from, and it kind of makes me question, how old is she? That's like 1940 something. What time does this take place, kind of thing? And just, it's shocking. But Rimuru actually shows her, his past life, and of course we see the elf come on his computer, and it was Eroge. Oh, it was an elf, of course. We see where his obsession was, and he goes, "Oh, don't pay me no mind to that one." I couldn't stop laughing, and she said, "Oh, I thought she was cute." I'm like, "Oh, thank God she doesn't get what it was." But we see Rimuru actually talk about his true purpose in this world, what he wants to do, his accomplishment. He wants to make the world as peaceful as Japan is, and we see him kind of show as he's shown Japan, and I like Shizu because she said it reminds me of New York. It's all peaceful, and he was explaining how everything has changed after the war and how Japan's everything just has gone up. Everything's just been so peaceful, and Shizu actually starts to cough up again, and we see one of the good old dwarves kind of interrupt the little touching moment that they have, and we kind of see a little flashback to, what happened to Shizu's past, and the girl from episode 1 that was swallowed up by the fire was actually Shizu. And we see that the spirit Ilfrid is in her. That's her kind of contracting spirit. That's her weapon. And it kind of makes sense why she kept coughing and she kept kind of going out of breath, because she was covered in burns, and they never really were treated correctly. And this is building up to a very good thing now, and I don't want to spoil stuff, and when I say I don't want to spoil stuff, I know what happens, so please avoid spoiling stuff, because people want to watch this on their own. Because this anime is really good, and I'm so happy we get to finally see Shizu, and I hope we get to see, of course this isn't really much of a spoiler since it is in the opening, Rimuru's actual human form, and it's just, I can't wait. This anime keeps me in suspense and hype for the next episode. And honestly, if I could go into the future and binge watch this all, I would. I'm probably going to rewatch it because I just think this is a very interesting way of doing an Another World anime. This is why I kind of like, Death March in Another World with my smartphone. It's kind of, the main character is overpowered, but he uses it for its actual goodness of the world, and I enjoy this anime overall. But what do you think of Shizu? Do you think she is best girl so far, or do you think the goblins are better? But the little summary is we can see the goblins are rebuilding their villages, and it's going to be quite interesting how it's going to turn out. No spoilers, of course, but anyways, guys, this is Austin the Doctor, signing out. Peace.